Hey everyone, Thyworm here with a summary of the patch notes for patch 0.9 of last Epoch. Patch 0.9 hits this Thursday evening for those in Europe like me at 6 PM Central European Time, that is in the morning if you're in the US, and of course later in the evening for those in Asia or even further away. So patch 0.9's main selling point is of course the multiplayer. That is the whole point of this patch. You can group up with 3 other players, you need to add them to your friends list, invite them, and you are then in a party. What is kind of sad, I feel, is that unless you're in a party, you will not notice anyone else in towns, meaning that the end of time will still feel very lonely also after this patch, because there's no one there. This is coming in a future update, but it won't be in here now. For those unaware, you can't transfer your current offline characters to the online servers. If you want to play 0.9 online, which you do, you need to create new characters. That means that playing 0.9 is effectively a wipe, but your old offline characters will not be deleted. You can still play them if you really want to, just not online. Then let's talk some drama, which is trade. For those unaware, trade was promised in the Kickstarter by now 5 years ago. Then like a few months ago, the devs decided to cancel the feature out of nowhere pretty much. And then they came to their senses and we're getting trade again. However, not this patch. So this is multiplayer without trade. There is no trade in patch 0.9, please be aware of that. You can only gift items, and that's only possible if you're in the same party, in the same zone when an item drops. In normal English, pretty pointless feature. Like I said, it will all be fixed later, but not now. I'm not gonna go into all further details on multiplayer and or party play in this video. I don't really have the insights, I'll be perfectly honest. I'm not going to play multiplayer much and I don't feel I should be the one telling you how this is done in like the monolith or the dungeons or whatever. Similarly, I'm going to skip a lot of balancing changes unless I feel it's really worth mentioning, just to keep this video within a manageable time frame. And also, I'll be honest, once again, I am not the biggest min-maxing, stat-crunching build nerd out there for last Epoch. I don't really care about balancing. I know, sue me. I will tell you about MTX because don't we all care about that, right? Patch 0.9 will not have the MTX store because after checking with the devs, you will be able to equip MTX like the backpack or maybe one of those pets from the founder packs, but for now you can't buy MTX just yet because there's no store. It was planned, but due to a technical issue it won't be available, at least for now. If you're really keen on buying MTX, we can probably safely assume the devs are keen on selling it too. So I'm sure that store will be implemented sooner rather than later. MTX will be purely cosmetic, by the way, just like in PoE. If you played the last Epoch Endgame before, the Monolith of Fate, like before patch 0.9, you should know that no significant changes have been made to that system in this patch. We do get 7 new map layouts, which is always nice. A few enemy mods have been limited to specific timelines, mostly for lore reasons it seems. For example, monsters can shock in the Ending the Storm timeline, featuring Lagon as a boss, which I guess makes sense. You will also see additional map bosses in the echoes, but I won't spoil which ones just yet. Just figure it out for yourself. Minor changes have been made to dungeons as well. For example, the Lightless Arbor boss has been nerfed by quite a bit, so he should hopefully not one-shot you anymore. Then let's talk about something I'm much more interested in, the combat feel. I played the beta for patch 0.9 and I think without going into too much detail, the combat feels pretty good. The devs made a bunch of changes to the graphics, the hidden death effects, the animations, the sound effects, and I'll just say that playing this game, being in combat, killing a bunch of monsters, it all felt good. Especially compared to how it used to feel, so that is a massive improvement. If this was ever a complaint for you, as it was for many, myself included, now is a good time to check in and see how you like the new style. Similarly, I noticed a load of smaller changes that make the game just stand out a little bit more. It makes it all feel just that little bit nicer. The new level up animations, for example, and sounds, very satisfying. You will notice a lot of these smaller improvements and everything combined it adds up. In a similar fashion, I was also pleased with the new music that has been written for 0.9. Music is something you have to listen to for a while to properly appreciate it, but ever since I made that video basically explaining how bad the music was in Last Epoch, the game has improved quite a bit. Not sure it was all due to that video, although I am pretty sure they watched it, as some very specific complaints I had were addressed in the next patch. That trend of writing more suitable scores for the world and the zones, and more importantly, creating a recognizable soundscape of songs that actually work together instead of a rhapsody of different tunes, is something we're seeing more and more from the composer or composers. I am really happy to see that. There's definitely room for improvement still, and I might revisit that music video someday, but overall I am happy with the latest soundtracks. Another interesting change is cooldown recovery. The background here is that the design philosophy behind the changes I'm about to tell you is that items should play a bigger role in how the pace of gameplay changes as time progresses. In other words, the game should feel faster and more zoomy the more gear and levels and skills you get. Makes sense. So the devs increased the availability of cooldown recovery on gear, allowing you to really push those cooldowns. To offset this, most travel skills have been nerfed in terms of cooldown, so the start of the game will feel quite a bit slower, but the end game will be ultimately faster than it is now. I think that's a decent change and it's well explained by the devs in this post. There's a bit more though. How about a bunch of new 3D armor models, if you care about that? Armor always looked pretty decent in Last Epoch and the new models are no different. There are 18 new uniques as well, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a few shortly after the 0.9 launch. That has happened in a lot of previous patches as well. It's not only uniques you will have a few new ones of, because you can expect a bunch of new enemies. As with most major Last Epoch releases, the campaign and its zones are typically partly overhauled, which means new environments, cleaner looks, more ambience and atmosphere, and new enemies. I played through the campaign in the beta and once again it is another step up. It remains a problem, for me at least, that there is zero randomization going on in the map layouts, so they're always the same, making the game and the campaign ultimately a lot more monotonous than it has to be. No one likes running campaigns over and over again in any ARPG, but without randomized maps I feel it's even worse, at least for me. Then on to another positive point, the optimization. The game has been running like dog shit for 4 years, but I'm happy to report that patch 0.9 is finally properly optimized. The game runs really well, at least in the beta, with a whole minion army on the screen, and I have seen massive improvements in this patch. The patch notes go into all sorts of details here as to why the game is now optimized. I honestly don't care about any of that. I am just glad to have experienced Last Epoch running smoothly on my 2080 and i7 at 1440p on the highest settings. And those settings look pretty incredible, by the way, with all the graphical overhauls going on. So if you want to experience a smooth Last Epoch for the first time ever, pretty much, check out the game. Let me conclude the video with my own thoughts. Overall, this patch is a big W for Last Epoch, and I feel it's all about expectations here. EHG has tried their absolute best the last couple of months to alienate significant parts of the community with all that trade mess going on, and they haven't released any content in a whole year. I think it's warranted that people didn't like that. To me, that makes a lot of sense. But we should be fair too and acknowledge this patch is large. I played it and it plays well. And as long as you're not expecting anything more than I talked about in this video, you're going to be absolutely fine. And if you've never played Last Epoch, you're going to be experiencing the game in the best state it has ever been in. There is no question about it. I'm sure both the existing community and new players are going to enjoy patch 0.9. I am more excited, however, at what is coming next. Because you would think, at least I would think, that now the devs have taken this online hurdle, and let's give them, 1 or 2 more months to actually fix some issues I am sure will pop up. Now is the time to finish the game. Right, EHG? Right? And find a suitable time slot for release, because it's getting a little crowded, isn't it? Diablo 4 in June, some other stuff going on as well. I'm kinda curious what's up next actually for Last Epoch. I'll be speculating about that in another video. For now, I hope you enjoyed this one and that you have a good idea of what patch 0.9 brings, and maybe I'll see you in Itera. I will be there this weekend at least. I'll be streaming a little bit over here on my YouTube channel, so feel free to check that out. Like the video, subscribe, you know the drill. Thanks for watching and making it to the end. Love you all, see you soon, bye bye.